This freakish-looking animal has dominated new reports for weeks now. It was found by a local girl who made the right call to bring the creature to their vet, and from that point on, things got heated quickly. The vet recognized the animal for what it was and warned the child, "Stand back, the small, initially innocent-looking animal was found in a most unlikely of places, a residential garden." Mia, the 9-year-old girl who found the creature when playing in her backyard, simply picked it up and brought it inside their home, an act that later would be regarded as a very bold move. But before we start, smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our upcoming stories. Mia walked into her home with a little black animal in her hand. She yelled for her mother to meet her in the kitchen so she could present her findings. However, contrary to Mia's excitement about the situation, her mother showed signs of concern when she entered the room and saw the animal. The worried mother let out a small scream because of the creature's unnatural appearance. She demanded that Mia put the reptile-looking animal back where she found it and wash her hands carefully afterward. "That thing doesn't look natural, and you don't know what germs it could hold," but that was the least of their worries. Mia's face turned sour after her mom's request. She did not want to get rid of the animal and blatantly refused to return it. "It's my pet. She's called Lizzie, and I want to keep her," Mia stated. But the worries within Mia's mother remained, so only a vet's expertise could settle this argument. This was a request Mia could agree upon. She wanted Lizzie to be healthy, and maybe the vet could tell her what kind of animal Lizzie was so she could feed and nurture it properly. But when they arrived at the veterinarian's office, they were met with much more than they could handle. The vet welcomed Mia and her mother into his office and started his investigation without much concern in his voice. He asked Mia to lift the lid of the container she kept Lizzie in so he could take a look. But when he reached in to grab the animal, a loud sigh exited his mouth. The vet leaned back and seemed immediately shaken by the situation. His face turned pale and his hands trembled. Mia looked at the blue uniformed man in confusion and tried to ask what was going on, but the vet interrupted her question instantly. "Stand back, little girl. Stand back now." The vet's voice was filled with panic. This increase in volume and seriousness caused Mia and her mother to panic, too so much so that the young girl tilted her body in just the wrong way, making her arm accidentally tap the box Lizzie was in, and then the inevitable thing happened. The trio watched the box hit the ground with a soft thump. Nothing happened for a moment, but then Lizzie took her chance and escaped her confinement. She crawled around the room while the vet hurriedly grabbed a see-through box and placed it over the animal. "What's going on?" Mia's mother asked, confused. But the vet was so focused on the animal that he didn't respond to the question. A set of heavy books was placed on top of the container to ensure Lizzie could not escape again. When that part was secure, Dr. McDaniel stared at the container and its captive animal from an angle. He remained silent and refused to answer any questions. But pretty soon, both mother and daughter would find out why. The vet dropped down in his officer chair and rolled it to a computer in the back of the room. From there, he started smashing his keyboard with heavy fingers. What was he doing? Mia's mother listened to the vet's panicked words and stayed away from the container and reptile, but Mia was not in a listening mood. She felt bad for her pet, who fell on the ground and wanted to check on it. That's why the little girl approached the table and reached out. Mia placed her hand on the container and proceeded to open the lid. "I just want to touch her mommy to see if she's not hurt," but that action was rudely interrupted by Dr. McDaniels, who, despite not answering questions, watched every movement in his officer like a hawk. "Stay away from that box." Mia's mother didn't like the tone in which this veterinarian talked to her daughter, so even though she obliged and asked her daughter to stay away from the container, she also approached the uniformed man while demanding answers. But when she arrived beside him, she saw something worrisome on his monitor. Dr. McDaniel was frantically searching for something, and now Mia's mother could watch along. She saw multiple old websites and articles fly by. The vet was mumbling something unintelligible and was clearly frustrated and nervous. "What is going on?" Dr. Mia's mother now asked in a more calm voice to diffuse tension. "Why are you acting like this? Is there something with the animal? Please answer me," Mia's mother kept repeating. This round of questioning clearly bothered the doctor, who eventually turned around in his chair and faced Mia and her mother. "Where did you get it? You can't buy this animal." Now it was Mia and her mother's turn to provide answers. Mia's mother didn't know where her daughter found Lizzie. She never bothered asking, so it was up to the little girl to guide the vet in the right direction. "I found my pet beneath one of the bushes in our garden," Mia explained. The doctor looked worried when Mia said this. What was the vet withholding from them? But the truth would soon come to light. The man scrolled through a few more web-based articles and eventually stopped on one of them. "Yes, I finally found the one. Come over here and take a look." Mia followed the vet's pointing finger, which eventually brought her to an image on his computer monitor. And that's when a sight of familiarity finally hit her. "Hey, that's Lizzie," she excitedly exclaimed. The young girl left her pet for the first time and watched the computer screen alongside the uniformed man. Mia's mother was still in the dark, but the vet's dark expression spoke volumes. Then he started to speak openly. If my theory is correct, then the animal you've brought isn't just any ordinary animal that can be held as a pet. It is extremely dangerous, the vet said seriously. He showed Mia's mother the article, and after reading a few paragraphs, the confused mother also sighed in anguish. Is this what that thing is? Mia's mother stated that she remembered this article from years ago, but she did not understand how the animal arrived in their garden. The vet asked if they now understood why knowing where Mia had found the animal was so important. We have to find out what is going on and inform the police if needed. I will close my practice right now if you promise to lead us to where you found Lizzie, Dr. McDaniel said. Mia nodded, and after canceling all appointments for the afternoon, Dr. McDaniels got into the car with Mia and her mother. They hurriedly drove home and inspected the bush Mia found Lizzie in. This is the place. I promise you, she said. The doctor, now in normal street clothes, inspected the foliage. It took him some time, but because it had rained last night, the ground was luckily still wet, so tracks remained visible. Got it, Mia and her mother suddenly heard. The vet turned toward them, and for the first time today, he smiled at them. What? What did you find? Mia uttered. Dr. McDaniels found tiny track marks on the ground, probably caused by Mia's new pet. But that was not the only thing he found. The vet said the tracks led away from their garden, underneath the fencing. What is behind your property? The vet asked, his eyes pleading for a quick answer. Mia's mother explained that a large forest was not far from their garden. However, the area was mostly swamp-like, so few neighborhood residents visited. Yes, it smells bad there. Sometimes we even smell it inside our house, Mia said to the veterinarian. The vet looked at the mother and daughter with a worried look. Even though the place behind their home seemed vile, the vet wanted them to go. He asked Mia's mother to lead the way, and together they stepped away from the garden. The ground beneath their feet quickly turned from solid sand to a more muddy pasture, and with every step the animals' imprints were visible. After a short 10-minute walk, during which the trio followed Lizzie's footprints closely, they reached the place where everything would become clear. A large pond filled with thick green goo lay before them. It smelled horrible, and everyone could confirm that this must be the source of the odor. What is this place? Mia and her mother looked at the vet, who fell silent momentarily. It was clear that he knew something more. Was this the theory he had back in his office? Did this pond prove what he feared from the start? The mother and daughter were about to find out because Dr. McDaniel started pointing. Mia and her mother followed the man's finger and saw what he was pointing at. Between the high grass was movement, and not just any movement. A rustling sound was heard, and then the tall grass split sideways. From there, multiple animals crawled toward them, and Mia recognized them immediately. Those are like Lizzie, Mia spoke with an exciting voice. She still saw these animals as her discovered pets, not knowing the severity of the situation. But that was about to change because the vet strongly encouraged them to keep their distance again. Stand back, you don't want them close to you. It is as I feared. We have a big problem, and not just us. The entire town might be in danger. Mia's mom simply stared at the veterinarian. She might have recognized the look of the article on his computer screen, but didn't remember what it was about exactly. But Dr. McDaniel would explain. Their eyes grew wide as they looked at the pond. The water was infested with the same species as Lizzie, but these were fully grown, and they are much more dangerous, the vet stated. He figured that the only reason why Lizzie didn't harm them was because she was yet a baby. Dr. McDaniels explained that these creatures were not native. In fact, they are not native anywhere on Earth. These animals are bred in a lab. They don't belong in this ecosystem, and that has disastrous effects. If their population continues to grow, we can only guess what that would cause, he explained. But that isn't all, the vet added when he saw the concerned mother's face. Dr. McDaniels repeated what he had said before. These animals are very venomous, and their bites are a serious health concern for humans. People living in the area or walking past the pond are at risk, he said. Mia's mother instinctively stepped a few paces back and pulled her daughter along. She started to realize the predicament they were in. So what can we do, she asked, but the vet was already deep in thought. A solution needed to be thought up, and seeing the size of this population, it couldn't wait long. Dr. McDaniel mumbled as he looked out over the pond. Then he suddenly shook his head. There are too many animals to handle. 1 or 2 I could manage, but nothing like this amount. I need serious backup, he said. Regina watched him grab his phone and call for assistance. Dr. McDaniels explained the situation to animal control and told them it was vital to come over as fast as possible to assess it. When they eventually arrived, it didn't take long for them to agree it was a major problem. We have to deal with this carefully, they said. Dr. McDaniels explained the situation to animal control and told them it was vital to come over as fast as possible to assess it. And luckily, they took the situation very seriously. A team of over 50 people arrived and searched the swampy area for weeks, eventually clearing it all. Unfortunately, Mia also had to give Lizzie to the animal control people. Lizzie wasn't a pet to be kept by a civilian, but they did offer the sad girl a fair trade. Mia received 2 rescue turtles who she called Speedy and, you guessed it, Lizzie too, a happy ending to an otherwise inevitable tragedy.